Welcome and welcome back, Fiber Friends, to yet another episode of the Wool to Gold podcast. Today we are going to be doing something super different, okay? Normally I talk about fiber art, I talk about spinning yarn and crochet and processing raw sheet fleeces and all sorts of woolly things on this podcast. Today we're going to be talking about me, which is a little bit different, a little bit uncomfortable for me, I will admit, especially in this sort of format. Again, I do a lot of like instructional stuff for the most part. But honestly, I've just been wanting to make this video for a long time, for a multitude of reasons. Maybe I'll talk about those reasons during this video, maybe I won't. I have tried to make this video so many times, and it is just really difficult to organize all of my thoughts and experiences and feelings on it, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try, and I'm gonna try to take it sort of like question by question. But before any of that starts, I want to start with this disclaimer and just say that I'm making this video for the other trans kids, right? I'm making this video for the trans adults. I'm making this video for the people who have come out and been out for a super long time, and the people who are afraid to come out and might not be able to come out for a few more years still, okay? My point is I'm making this for my community and no other reason. I'm not making this because I feel like I have to answer people's weird, invasive, creepy questions. I'm not making this video because I feel obligated to, be honest about my identity. This is not a coming out video. This is not a coming out video. This is not a coming out video, okay? I've been out. If you've missed that, if you've missed that I'm trans, if you've missed that I identify as a gay man, that's on you, okay? I have been out, and this is not a coming out video, okay? This is for my community. This is for the people who maybe are curious about my experience. And frankly, I wanted to make this video because I feel like I grew up during the time of coming out videos, coming out as trans, coming out as gay. The early 2000s had a lot of those videos because it was and still remains to be, for whatever reason, a controversial subject. I wish people would just like love their children, right? Because that's why you had them, but I digress. And I kind of wanted to share my experience because my experience as a trans person, coming out, all of those things, when I was doing it, when I was coming out, was not straightforward. It was really, really complicated. It was a really big mix of positive and negative reactions from people, and I don't see a lot of those stories highlighted. I don't see stories like mine talked about a lot. And so I thought I would share mine. I just thought I would share mine. And maybe you're going to listen to it and you're going to be like, you have the same experience as every other trans man on this planet. Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe I just haven't watched those videos. But this is for you guys, okay? This is for those of you who are a part of the LGBTQ community and have been sticking around with my channel for that reason. Or anyone else who happens to stumble upon this video. Okay, so let's start with probably the most common question I always get from people who are just curious, from people who maybe are like, might identify as, being a part of the LGBT community and just don't really know how to tell. People always ask, like, did you know? Did you always know? I don't know. I've had different answers for this throughout my life. Part of me feels like no, like not really. I wasn't really conscious of it, but saying that is really, I don't know, misleading because I didn't know because I didn't have the vocabulary to know, okay? If you had asked like 5-year-old me what I was going to look like when I grew up, I thought I was going to look like Peter Pan. And so I feel like saying no, I didn't know is kind of misleading because clearly I did not want to grow up into someone with the secondary sex characteristics of what I was assigned at birth. Okay, I think that is something that is undeniable. I was convinced, in fact, that I would not be affected by them. I was like, nope, not gonna be me, not gonna be my problem, okay? As a result, puberty was horrible. Like many trans people, I instead of having like a perpetual tomboy phase, I went from having a tomboy phase to what I and many trans men have lovingly regarded as their drag era, where we are so overly feminine because the performance of femininity and the acknowledgement of it being a costume and a mask is the only way that we can kind of like get ourselves to participate in femininity. Definitely had one of those eras, okay? Definitely had that. But it was interesting because during that time, I was definitely, again, watching a lot of those like early 2000s coming out videos. Definitely was one of those people who was like, no, I'm just an ally. I'm just interested and curious. I was too interested, too curious. Whether it was trans women or trans men, I was watching all of the transition videos, okay? I was enamored. Fast forward a few years, I got real punk for a while, was introduced to Testo Junkie, which if you have not read Testo Junkie, wow, I don't know. There were a lot of signs that I definitely was not like comfortable with my gender, but also I was one of those people who was like, you know, I couldn't imagine a future for myself at all. And so anytime I imagined a future me, I had a really hard time imagining what it would look like as a teenager, like as an adult. And I think that like a lot of the times I would say that I really wanted to just be like formless, like bodiless, like just an orb with a personality. I would rather not be perceived as anything than be perceived as a woman. That was very much my feelings about that. Later, Brian here inserting this scene because I do think it's important and it's funny, and it is a really integral part of me really knowing that I should come out and that I was definitely trans, and it's a little funny and it's a little embarrassing and kind of cringy, but I'm gonna share it anyway, and I'm gonna try to share it in a way that's like, it's gonna be PG-13 because the subject is PG-13. I'm gonna try to keep it as censored as possible, I guess is my point. But when I was 17 years old, I, for the first time, decided to take part in a substance. And when you take part in this substance, many people go on a trip somewhere. You're going somewhere, but you're not going anywhere. I was a friend of the Grateful Dead. I don't know how else to kind of like, you know, give you an idea of the activities that I was participating for the first time on this beautiful summer night. I was 17. I was absolutely listening to one of the Grateful Dead albums. I can't remember which one, but I think I'm just gonna put the cover art up here because I remember the cover art. And during my first time experiencing this, I was given some advice as to what to do, things not to do. One thing I was told not to do was look in a mirror. I don't know if this is still advice that we give people who are partaking in these substances. To my knowledge, it's actually becoming increasingly difficult to get genuine examples of that substance, but I digress. One of the things that I was told was to not look in a mirror, and my friend at the time had one of those like groovy, like mirrored on all sides, essentially like 70s style bathrooms. And so it was really hard to not look in the mirror, and I had accomplished using the restroom without looking in the mirror until I went to go wash my hands. And when I looked in that mirror and I washed my hands, I realized that, or at least to my interpretation, I saw future me. And future me looked like this, okay? Future me did not look like the G-breast goth baddie that I was in high school. The images did not line up, and I didn't immediately understand how I was going to end up this way or look this way, but I did realize that there was a future for me, and that future just looked really different than I currently understood. And then I remember, like, the next day I think I came out to a few friends, and they actually reacted really, really well. And that went positively. That was positive. My whole coming out story was not positive, but we're gonna get to that, okay? Yeah, that moment, I really did genuinely solidify things for me. Like, it was in that moment that I realized, like, oh, like, I'm gonna be a man. That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm going to have a future. I'm just not gonna have a future as a woman. And that's okay. As long as because at the time, I did not think I was going to have a future. I did not think I was going to make it past. I was surprised I had made it to 17. Okay? And I was really questioning whether I was ever gonna make it to 21. And in that moment, all of a sudden, I was given a future. And that was really cool. Fast forward to the summer of my 19th birthday. My birthday is in June, and when I was 19, it was after my first year of college, that was it. I was really like, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. Okay, I'm in this new place. I did go to college, not in my hometown. I moved out towards like the Virginia metro area, Nova, and I was very much like, I'm in a new place. I have this opportunity. I am just going to transition. So let's talk a little bit about something else that people always ask me about, which is if my family was supportive. And that's a really complicated question. I don't think people like to talk about the answer to this when the answer is as complicated as mine. But I kind of want to be transparent and open because I also want other trans people, if you want the opportunity to still reconnect with your family after coming out and them not reacting well, you're not alone. I know a lot of people, okay, so like it's so complicated because I have sympathy and I stand with all trans people who decide to completely cut off contact with their family because of how their family reacted to their coming out, how their family has continued to treat them while they came out. Like, I totally stand with that and agree. But then on the opposite side of the coin, I also understand with and empathize all the trans people who say, no matter how horribly my family treated me when I came out, I still want to have a relationship with them. You're not alone. I feel like a lot of our feelings get invalidated, and funnily enough, they're not even invalidated by our community. I feel like a lot of the times they're invalidated by these so-called allies around us who want to be supportive, but are so supportive that they don't understand that we are allowed to have our own relationship with our family and the emotions that they have around coming out. Okay, so full disclosure, my family was not as across the board supportive as I would have liked them to be when I came out. I don't really want to go into like the nitty-gritty details of that, but what I want to say is that if you are watching this video because your kid just came out to you, please, 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 please be thoughtful about what you say. I understand that you are going through your own set of emotions, but you need to understand that the courage and strength that it took for your child to come out so outweighs the courage and strength that you're going to need to have a transgender child and have a transgender child in your life. Okay? I need you to understand that the strength that you require is never going to even amount to the amount of strength that it took for them to come out. So I need you to get over yourself, and I need you to be careful about how you speak to your kid and the things that you say to them that you are never going to do or never going to be able to accept about them, because they're going to remember that. And so in 4 years, when your kid doesn't talk to you at all and doesn't want to speak to you, and you're asking why, you need to understand that you don't have a right to ask why, because you said some really hurtful things that they are going to remember forever. Okay? And on the flip side of that, if your parent said these, or anyone in your life said these hurtful things, and you still find yourself maybe wanting to try to give that relationship another chance or rekindle that, that is also okay. because you know what? People do change. People do change sometimes. Like, often, you know? I don't know. I don't mean to get like super emotional. And again, I'm gonna try to like hold it together for a lot of this video. And some people are gonna be like, I don't understand why certain parts of this make you emotional and other parts don't. And again, like, that's just, I don't know. People are people, and this is gonna be like a hard video. I don't know. I am somebody who has made many mistakes in my life, many bad mistakes. I have made bad choices and been a bad person during portions of my life, and I'm very thankful for everybody who gave me the like grace and space and acceptance to change and then accept the new person that I am. And so as a result, I personally have made the choice to allow people that grace and that second chance in regards to my identity, and I am really glad that I did that. I'm gonna be so real with you guys. I'm super glad that I did that. I'm really proud of the changes and the effort that and the work that a lot of my family has gone through to, I don't know, make our relationship good and eventually understand where I'm coming from 100% and be 100% supportive and be there and be supportive 100% for me in a way that like I really appreciate now. And that's really awesome, and I wouldn't have been able to get back in my life if I had not given people that chance. And so yeah, like, coming out might not be hard for you. It might not be easy either, and it's probably not gonna be a straight shot with everybody. And your relationship with people may change a lot over a year, but with that same person, you know, 5 years later, it might change again. And they might also end up being people who realize that they were so angry and reacted the way that they did because they did not have the courage to come out themselves, and that's where that anger was coming from. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of all I want to talk about in regards to coming out, because it is such like a tricky, sore subject. But there are lots of other questions that I want to answer that are not so emotionally charged. So I'm going to give myself a second to gather my emotions, maybe have a little coffee, and I'm going to talk to you guys again in like a second. Okay, so I think it's time we answer one of the more like fun questions, or like fun questions that people have related to like me being trans, things that I feel positively about talking about, I should say, because these are not fun questions for everybody, right? I am opening myself up and being honest and answering them for you guys, but I don't recommend just asking them outright to the next trans person that you meet, okay? Everybody wants to know about the actual transition, the hormones, testosterone. What is it like? I love it. I mean, listen, a lot of people will resonate with this, but like, I talk all the time. Testosterone's like jet fuel. I call it jet fuel because I am somebody who, for the first 5-6 years of my transition, I was on the shot. So I did a weekly shot. I, especially at the very beginning, the mood swings and the energy like drops and like bumps were just crazy. It was insane how much energy I could suddenly have, and then at the end of the week, when my shot would be, you know, like diminishing in my body at that point, I would just be so exhausted and so grumpy and so tired, so hungry. Oh my god, I got so hungry. And the hunger didn't really, like, I never really adjusted to the hunger until like 3 or 4 years into my transition, and I still find myself like astounded sometimes at like the sheer volume that I can eat now, in a good way. I don't know, that was definitely a big pro for me. I liked the increased appetite. There is definitely an increased libido. If you want me to talk more about that, you're gonna have to pay me. That's all I'm gonna say about that. If you want me to talk more about that experience specifically, or anything involving like the lower portion of my body, you're gonna need to pay some bills, baby. I'm not talking about that stuff for free. TBH. But what I will talk about for free is getting super hairy. Loved that. Loved the hair. I am somebody, a lot of guys on T, I'm gonna be so real with you guys. Like, the facial hair, some guys are really gifted and you'll get your facial hair immediately, but if you're anything like me, it took forever. I only could grow like a chin strap beard for like, I don't know, again, that was like the first 5 years of my transition, and then all of a sudden, year 6, I like couldn't fight back the mustache. One of the reasons I grew the mustache is because I have to shave it so persistently, like daily shaving of specifically this part of my face, the 5 o'clock shadow comes back like immediately, and it was just irritating my face a lot, so I just like leaned into it. It's a good look for our people anyway, so I kind of love it. But for some people, the facial hair just comes later, okay? It's gonna come eventually, I promise, all right? You've got your whole life ahead of you now. Is the really cool part is like when you start testosterone, you do truly feel like, oh my god, like all of a sudden there is a future and there is a life for you, and that that is the best fucking feeling in the world. Some of us who are not gifted in the facial hair department though will be gifted in the voice department. So my voice dropped like I swear to God, I had watched so many videos and read so many things where guys were like, don't expect your voice to drop immediately. Don't expect it to drop in the first like month on T. I mean, I did find out later on from my hormone doctor that I do have more hormone receptors than the average person, and so this probably impacted why my voice dropped so dramatically so quickly. But my voice did drop within the first like month, 2 months on T. I got my first T shot my birthday when I turned 19, okay? That was June 6th. That I turned 19 that summer. I went back to school in late August, and when I walked in and talked to my friends that I had made freshman year and would later become my friends that I still have now, I love my college friends. Shout out to Emily, Leah, Tori. I love you guys. If you are ever watching one of these videos, I love you so much. Anyway, yeah, I walked back in, they were like, dude, your voice, like, that's crazy. It had dropped so much. And so, yeah, everybody's transition is different. The way your hormones affect you for everybody is going to be different. That brings me to my next point. For me, and I think for a lot of people, your chest is probably going to shrink a certain amount when you start T. I was exceptionally lucky. I went from having such a big chest that I couldn't get normal bras at the store to having what I have now, because I have not had top surgery yet, like A cup, like itty bitty titty committee, super tiny, super easy to manage now. A lot of people ask me why I haven't had top surgery yet, and I did want to talk a little bit about that because it's complicated and it's not as easy and straightforward as I think a lot of people think. So first I'm going to preface this with saying I did vape for a really long time and I quit. But that was like a last year, 2 years sort of development. And so one, if you're like vaping or smoking or anything like that, you can't get top surgery. You have to quit at least temporarily while you're getting it and while you're recovering. That's a pretty well-known fact. But that was not actually the factor. Like, if that was the only thing that was stopping me from getting top surgery, I would have quit much faster, much earlier. That probably would have motivated me to quit, honestly. The reasons are twofold. First, cost. Okay, it's really expensive. It's really expensive, even if your insurance covers a lot of it, or even all of it. I need cis people to understand this. Even if your insurance covers all of your surgery, no one is covering your recovery costs. No one is covering the cost of having to take off of work for an extended period of time. Okay, no one is paying for, you need help during that time. You can barely move and you can't do a lot of things for yourself. You can't lift your arms over your head or lift your arms really to any degree in this first few days. There are some really intense like drainage situations and things like that like personally as somebody who I get really not grossed out by other people's blood, but my own blood and my own like medical surgical stuff makes me really nauseous, and I would have issues taking care of it all by myself, okay? For those of us who don't have, like I talked about, I did not always have like a supportive family situation when it came to coming out, and I still because of that, would be wary to put that recovery on my parents, because I just think it would be uncomfortable for everybody involved. Like, you need to have a support system for that recovery, a support system that I don't have access to all the time, okay? There is no doubt that I have friends in my life who would absolutely, like, my one friend is a school teacher during the summer. Like, if I asked her, she would absolutely help me out with that recovery. But it also means that, like, I can't just get top surgery anytime. If a surgery date comes available for me, if I was approved, like, again, even if I had the 10 grand or so that I would need, in some cases up to $25,000 that I would need to cover my top surgery, even if I had all of that money, okay, there is still the factor of, like, needing somebody there to help me with the recovery, and needing a system of support that a lot of trans and queer people just don't have afforded to them for a multitude of reasons. So yeah, next time you want to ask a trans person why they haven't had any surgeries done, don't, because now you know the answer. It's expensive and the recovery is brutal, and a lot of us, you know, even if we have the money for it, a lot of us do not have the support system to support us through the recovery that some of these really invasive surgeries require. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't think anybody ever needs to justify not getting or getting any gender affirming surgeries to anyone else ever. So stop asking. I didn't ask you about your hair plugs from Turkey or your veneers, okay? And so you need to stop asking me about why I haven't gotten a really expensive surgery yet. It's a dumb question. You gotta say, if you ask me dumb questions, I'm gonna start asking you dumb questions. Something else that I wanted to just share about, like, transitioning and being on testosterone is that if I had any fears about what if I'm an ugly man, or like, what if I don't like the way that I look on testosterone, I don't even really remember if I had those fears, because I feel so the opposite now. There is not a single change that testosterone has done to me that I haven't loved. I'm gonna be so for real. Male pattern baldness runs on my mom's side. I'm probably gonna lose my hair. I don't care. So what? I'm gonna be a bald gay man with a mustache, and I'm still gonna be hot as That's the thing about transitioning and knowing if it's right for you, is if it is right for you, you're really not gonna worry. You're never gonna think about that question again. And if you do have to think about it again, and it does end up not being for you and ends up being something that you don't want to pursue further, okay, that's fine too. Don't be weird about it. Don't get weird about it. Don't get weird about it and start judging people who do choose to transition. But, like, that's okay too. It's all right. You have your whole life ahead of you. And if you think that not doing this will make it so that you won't have your whole life ahead of you, that is what's going to make you take yourself out of this world, not having access to those things, not at least trying, then, like, by all means, like, try. Like, oh my gosh, like, always choose life, right? Choose life. I am so happy that I made it to this point in my life, and I'm like, God, I wish I could go back and show young me how things turned out, because I'm gonna be so real. One of the main reasons I wanted to make this video is because, like, God, like, young me was so strong and full of courage for, like, making that choice, because I even look now, and it's so weird to say this as, like, somebody who has transitioned, but, like, it's almost hard for me to look back and, like, seeing the way things are now, like, making that choice now would be so hard and scary, and it's just, I'm so thankful that I made that choice then, because I do think that some of the hardest times during one's transition is those first early months, early years. It's hard. But I'm really glad that I did it. I have absolutely no regrets. I'm so overjoyed and thankful that I did that for myself. And it's the reason that I get to be here today. And I get to make these silly little videos for you guys. And yeah, I don't know. I've been reflecting about that a lot recently, and I kind of wish that, like, I really do wish I could say thank you to young me, because God, it was so hard. It was so hard for him. He had to do so much and fight against so much, and God works so hard to pay for those first, like, transitional medical bills trying to get on T, because it was not cheap. It was even more expensive and more difficult than it is now, and I was in a fairly legal state. I got my hormones done in New York, and it was still really difficult and expensive. And so I'm just thankful to myself for doing that and making that hard choice, because now my life is a lot easier as a result of it. I do think this is all I'm going to share on this subject for now, because that's all that I feel like sharing, and those are all the questions that I can remember right now that I feel like are important or looming, or somebody who was in the same position that I was in many years ago might find some comfort or resonate with. If people have more questions, if there are other questions that I feel called to answering, then I will answer them. And if not, you won't see another one of these videos. I don't know. I'm just kind of putting this out here because, again, I used to watch these kinds of videos when I was younger, and it provided a lot of comfort for me. It is probably one of the reasons that I actually survived and made it to the old age that I am now. And so why not put one of those videos out myself? Why not contribute to the survival of some of the LGBTQ youths or adults? You know, there are lots of people who, if you are 53, if you are 70 years old and you just decided that, like, you want to start testosterone, great. Let's do it. Like, it is never too late. It is never too late. Turn that TV back on, baby. It's never too late. Anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. Thank you for all of the continued love and support. If you like what I do here, if you want to see more from me, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Wool to Gold podcast.